Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch in Portland, Victoria, and welcome to today's show. How cool is this? I'm standing on the grounds of a once-was service station. There's an old house there, there's a shed behind us, it's pretty cool on the outside, and what's waiting for us on the inside is pretty cool as well. In this week's Classic Restos, On the Road. I'm standing beside a 1938 Pontiac Chieftain Straight Eight, 100% original. It was purchased back in 1972 by the family, and to tell us more, here's Craig Dennert. Before we go any further, this bloke deserves recognition. Craig is a double amputee. He has a heart of gold, the first to help anyone. Craig plays a big part in organising truckloads of feed to be sent out to stricken farmers for their animal stock. And Craig is the one responsible for the organisation of the Portland Classic Show and Shine event each and every year. It was Craig's father, Ray, who bought this Pontiac and used it as the family car, and here is some of its story. The man we blame. How you doing, Craig?
Good, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. Before we go any further as well, now, the Portland Classic Show and Shine, another fantastic event for 2022. Mate, hats off to you. You've done it again.
Look, yep, and big thanks to all our members. You know, they got in and done their job, and it was just fantastic. The weather came on for us. Didn't think it was going to be that good.
Now, Craig, on the same weekend, there was another show not too far away, so hope things went for them as well. A few changes over the last couple of years, and event dates change and what have you. So for your numbers to be so well with another show on at the same time, that's another accolade too.
Oh, for sure. You know, I think there was 3 or 4 events on in town on the day, and our crowd was up massive over last year. Or, you know, the amount of people that come through that gate and stayed there and looked at it all day was just, yeah.
All right, mate, keep up your great efforts, and if you can get to Portland for 2023, make sure you do. It's a beautiful part of Victoria, and it's a great car show, and the people that put the show together, they're just fantastic. Now, Craig, this Pontiac next to us, your dad bought it in 1972. How does it feel to be standing next to the vehicle that's been in the family for so long?
Look, this car could have went anywhere, you know, like to still have it, been through 2 weddings for my sister and her daughter, and hopefully another one coming on the way. To have this car still here, it's the same. It's a part of the family. It's not going anywhere, mate. We'll keep it and just keep driving it around when we can.
What are some of your fondest memories of the car?
Oh, look, back in the day, we didn't see much of Dad. He was a truck driver and way most of our lives sort of thing, home on weekends. We went to the football in this car. You know, you go to the footy on a Saturday pulling it in this thing. Even back then, you know, everyone else was driving brand new EHs and all that sort of stuff, you know. Like, and then church on Sundays, and then that car, we didn't see that car again until the end of the week. Next week to do the same again. But that's what it was, football, going to family functions. It was our family's second car. This was Dad's work vehicle.
Craig, it's such an elaborate car for 1938. In terms of history and who owned it, do you know any of that?
Originally, this car was bought by a doctor, I believe, first.
You see, how many times have I said that? Doctors and lawyers. Back in 1938, to have a brand new Pontiac here in Australia, Straight Eight, wow, that was something.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's right. And then I think a bloke from Hamilton area bought it, and then Dad bought it off him. And, yeah, like as I said, to drive around in this sort of thing back then, you know, you were the king.
There's someone else here today that is very special, obviously, to the family, who can tell us a little bit more about this vehicle. Now, you might want to tell us what you've organised here today.
Yeah, well, when you asked to have a bit of a look on this car, and you asked me if I would do an interview, I said, well, how about getting my dad here So, yeah, we've got my 90-year-old dad here today to tell you a bit more about this car. You'll know a lot more about it than what I will.
So your brother Darryl went this morning, collected him from the nursing home. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Darryl's been here and helped me clean the car and took off to go and pick Dad up from the home. And, now they've just pulled in. So, yeah.
Well, it doesn't get much better than this. The original owner, well, from 1972 anyway. About to see your dad. Good on you, mate. Well done, Craig. Thanks very much for the invitation here and featuring here a little bit with this incredible 1938 Pontiac.
Thanks, Fletch. Thanks.
Well, this is probably one of the most special moments that you could ever get in a time of doing an episode of Classic Restos. We've got Ray, 90 years of age, from the nursing home, brought here this morning to sit next to the car that he bought in 1972. How are you, Ray?
Oh, well, thanks. Better than I look.
Yeah, you doing okay?
Yeah.
Ray, it means a lot to you, this vehicle. Can you just share with us what it was like to buy this Pontiac back in 1972?
Well, I went looking for a Buick, and that's the only thing I was going to look at. And a mate of mine said, I got onto a Buick, can you come and have a look at it? And I went and had a look and he showed me over the Buick. He bloody brought it there to me.
So you're after a Buick and you found the Pontiac.
No, he had the Pontiac. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll sell you my Pontiac for what it owes me. I'm looking at $400.
It must have been a remarkable car. Like, even in 1972, it was still a good car.
Oh, hell yeah. 92,000 miles, genuine mileage.
And a straight eight too. I guess in 1972 it still would have been recognised as a fairly flash sort of a car.
Oh yeah, I could have sold it 100 times.
Yeah. Isn't it a good thing you didn't sell it, hey?
I think so. I wish I had I could have used the money more than the car. No, I used it a lot.
Yeah. What are some of your fondest memories in it?
Oh, probably. I used to drive to the footy on a Saturday because I had 7 kids and the missus used to take most of the kids in the station wagon. And I'd take the rest of them in this.
Ray, what would be a couple of things that you personally love so much about this particular type of Pontiac?
Well, it's pretty rare. 12 chassis come to Australia and they built the bodies here.
By Holden?
By Holden in Adelaide, yes.
Back in the day, what's the highest speed that you got out of it, Ray? You're allowed to say that now, all these decades down the track.
Oh, but I wasn't going to go to the 100, but she would have went there.
She would have went to 100, hey?
Oh, she would have. Oh, I went about 92 or 3, and that was it. I didn't want to risk it for me.
See, no one will ever want to tell me that classic cars don't have an effect on people. No, that conversation won't go very well with me, and this is evidence of that, isn't it?
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Ray, do you want to share with us a bit about maybe some of the other Holdens that you had? Because you had some other cars, but maybe trucks. Maybe you want to share some of the truck stories with us.
Oh, I was a trucking here I claim to be the oldest trucking in Australia. I went for the longest time. I was 70 years truck driving. I started when I was 12 years old and I retired when I was 74.
What was your favourite truck, Ray?
Well, at the time it was the favourite, the 1418 Mercedes.
1418 Benz, yep.
And it was the first truck I was able to buy and own.
A pretty classy truck back in the day, weren't they?
And I never had a sleeper cab.
No sleeper cab. You probably didn't have you didn't have the time to sleep back in those days, Ray, did you?
They never give us much time, no. There was no restrictions then, though. They wanted the job done. It was the most important thing.
Some of the blokes went all day and they drove all night, didn't they?
We worked all day and drove all night, yeah.
Do you want to share with us? You had a little bit of an accident in one of your trucks. What happened? What happened with that truck accident?
Well, I was driving for another bloke, a friend, done. He had an urgent trip out of Adelaide, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go." So I went. I nearly wrote her off that day. I think I wrote the rest of the truck off.
What's the truck where you ended up in a sewerage farm?
This is the one.
You really got in the poop that day, didn't you, Ray?
I was in the poop all right.
What year were you married, Ray?
56.
Can you remember what sort of car that you had at the day you were married?
Two 1953 Ford Custom Lines.
Beautiful memories, aren't they?
They are. I wouldn't mind one of them cars now.
Well, you've technically still got the Pontiac beside you.
Well, yeah, I'm parting with it.
It'll be with you forever, won't it?
Yeah, well, the memories of it will. This other fellow owned it and he bought the Buick. Yep. I wanted the Buick he had, but he wouldn't sell to me. Right. Yeah, I tell you what, I'll sell me Pontiac. I'll have a look at it. As soon as I saw it, I said I'd buy it. I'd come up there with all the money I could rake up, because I knew I was going to be buying something. And I bought this 400 bloody quid, 400 pounds.
Even that was a fair bit of money back in '72,
Well,
wasn't
more
it?
than I could have. The missus went crook.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah. She wanted a new washing machine or something.
So you had two handbrakes back then, Ray?
Yeah. Both working hard. Anyway,
So did she end up getting the new washing machine?
Oh, yeah. I couldn't have this without it.
Because she would have been agitated, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
You didn't want to get her into a spin, Ray, did you?
You're quick. I wouldn't have thought of those things.
Ray, what would have been your favourite car over the years? Like when you were growing up through the 50s, 60s, and when you were a young bloke, even earlier than that. If you could have had a car, what would have been the most favourite automobile that you would have loved to have had?
38 Pontiac.
There you go. You got what he wanted. You got your dream car, didn't you?
Well, not quite. I suppose a little bit later than that, I would have been an FX Holden. But there's no such thing as an FX Holden, you know.
I've heard that a couple of times. Yeah. It was a 48215, wasn't it, Ray?
That's right, yeah.
Now, Ray, I'm going to give you something special, a little gift from General Motors Australia.
Yeah.
And it's going to replace that beret that you've got there. Can that?
No, I can't part with it.
You can't. No. Well,
I've got a wardrobe full of them.
You got a wardrobe full of them.
Not exactly like this one, but.
Well, look, I know you've got this Pontiac here. It was put together by the great people of the day back in at Holden, General Motors Holden. So you know what, you are a Holden legend, and I'll classify you as that.
Holden car.
It is. So there you go.
I'll show you something.
Look, Ray, a special Holden Legends cap. I want you to have that from Holden.
Thank you. I'll value that.
Are you happy with that?
Yes, thanks.
Will you take the beret off and put that on?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. We've separated the beret. Here we go. He's got his cap on. There you go, Ray.
Yeah, I know.
Holden Legend. How do you feel?
All right, this is a Holden, you know.
I know. Yes, absolutely.
Did Craig show you the Holden badge on it?
Yes, I saw that.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I won't need to show you again.
Okay, Ray. Well, look, we'll let you get back to your home where you live, and I want to thank you very much again. We've got a bit of an audience out there watching this interview. Very special time for you to come here and have a talk to me. Thank you.
Oh, I'm pleased with it too.
Holden legend Ray Dennett on today's episode of Classic Restos. Up in the Hall of Fame. Good on you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. If you own a classic, or two, have them insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannons Club awaits you. For more information and to find out how to become a member of the Shannons Club, visit shannons.com.au. What can I say about Craig Dennett? Craig is an inspiration to many, many people. How do I say this? I guess I don't have a lot of time for people that might sit around and choose not to do much and then whinge. And Craig couldn't be more opposite than that. He has two prosthetic legs. He finds it pretty difficult to get around, but you never hear a whinge out of the guy. He organises most of that car show. He's got a great nucleus of people around him in the club. They're lovely people, and he gets a lot of help. But Craig is, he's the mainstay of that event. But outside of that, Craig organises charities through the year. You see the semi-trailers and the B-doubles going along full of feed off to the farmers. That's the sort of stuff Craig does as well. He helps people out. So he's a selfless man. He puts himself last all the time. It was only this year that he had a golf buggy organised to get around the event, and I'd actually tried a couple of years prior to get the guy a golf buggy, so he can get around the show area easier. Look, on a personal note, at the end of the day, his legs are killing him. He can hardly walk at the end of the day. His legs are so sore. Who knows? Well, close friends know. Well, and now people in 6 countries through classic Restos. Sorry, Craig. But, guys like this are really the salt of the earth.
This time last year, it was nearly to the day, Fletch come around to my shed and Fletch said to me, "Whose is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's my dad's." And he goes, "Well, why is it sitting like that with dust all over it?"
My instant reaction to Craig is, what are you doing with this car?
He grabbed the rag off me and a bit of polish, and he polished a little spot on the bonnet.
And this old girl came up beautiful.
And he goes, "See, that's how this car could come up."
I could really see the potential in this car.
He inspired me again after 15 odd years to get this car going again. So I got a bit of advice for everyone. Don't let Fletch into your shed if you got old cars laying around there, because he will make you get that car going. So be very careful if that guy's floating around your shed. Trust me. Dad gets very emotional these days, and but to be like that, he must have had some really good times in this car, It was good to have Neville and Darryl, my brothers, here, so with Dad, and share a few stories with Dad about this car, and good to have it going again. It's fantastic, and especially to be sitting in my shed. They've all got sheds. It's happened to find its way to my shed.
She's running a little bit rough, hasn't really been driven in 15 years, so I don't think much a bit of a tune-up will fix all that up, I think, and fix that exhaust leak. She'll be running sweet.
Craig, got to do this, mate. You're a Holden legend as well. You deserve the cap, courtesy of GMA, mate. There you go. I know how you like your Holdens. You deserve it, Craig.
Thanks, mate. I'm GM all the way through, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, you wear that with pride, my friend.
I will, my mate.
Yeah.
Look out.
Automatic sunglass system just came down under the hat. Yeah.
Nah.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Fletch.
That's a real experience. If you can drive a truck, you can drive it without brakes. But you've got to know how to stop it. I've never seen one that didn't stop yet. What do you want, me and Len tipping the truck over? Yeah, we come down out of Dartmoor with 2,500 droppers. I got me 1 foot pumping the brake pedal trying to get some brakes. And Lynn, me driver, he was sitting in the left-hand seat, he was hanging onto the handbrake. I ended up over the road on the wrong side of the floor mat. And I couldn't see, I didn't know where I was. And Lynn saying, you better get out of there, Ray, there's petrol leaking. Which way's out? So Lynn come down, he reached in through the broken window, and lift the floor mat up, he cranked it down the lane and about 3 inches of dust from under the floor mat.
So the truck was upside down, Ray?
Yeah, and the floor mat's over my head. And I couldn't even see daylight. My own bloody truck, my own fault, wasn't it? If it had been anybody else's truck, I'd have told him, drive your own bloody truck. But I had to have some good reason. It was probably the one way I've been to the copper and got the... And he says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Portland. You're driving too close to that truck behind you. Well, give me a look at your tape measure. What'd you measure it with? I haven't got no tape measure. All right, I want you to remember that you told me that, because I'll see you in court. When you're in and taking it to court, are you? Bloody oath I am. I said, you've just backed yourself into a corner you can't get out of. He was going to book me for not having the right name on the door of the truck. And my proper name is Max Raymond, M.R. What's the M.R. stand for? Mister. You can call me Mister. You call me Mister for 2 years later. You still call me Mister, that bastard. No, you're a good bloke though. We become bits of friends. I often look him up, just to remind him that I'm still around.
How cool is young Ray? Now that's a perfect example to show you how a classic car can be the glue in an already closely united family. And I'm sure that Pontiac gives Ray some extra longevity, gives him something to look forward to each morning when he wakes up, if he chooses to go and see the car. The oil doesn't fall far from the sump either, because Ray's son Craig is understandably a gearhead as well. So it's time now to put your foot on the clutch, grab number 1, as we wind the clock back to 2021 to a Portland Classic Car Show and Shine event where Craig is featured with his beloved Torana. Not only did this man organise this fantastic event every year with Renee and a couple of other people with the club as well, obviously, but he practices what he preaches as well. A beautiful 1974 Torana. Now, in the past, you've never really come to me and said, Fletch, can I have it on the show? It's always been in the back blocks. Someone said to me last night, his car is nice, and I think it's worthy to mention that on today's show.
Yeah, well, tell me who it was. Cause no, look, it is. I've had this car 30 years this month, and in the last 20 years, it sat in the shed, unrestored. I thought, well, it's time to get it out, get it done. So, yeah, it took a lot of getting this car. It took me 10 years to convince the guy that used to own it to sell it to me. And, and it just went from there. Once I got it, as your younger days and, running around like we did, I'm surprised it actually survived. But here it is, original, matching numbered, 1974 SLR.
Now, to me, at first glance, and as I approached the car, Craig, it's never been messed with. I thought straight away, what an honest car.
I can remember years ago, me mates, all my younger mates would be going, oh, let's put flares on it, let's cut the guards, let's do this. I've always said, no, I want to leave this car. One day, I had the vision of doing this. Never thought it would happen. And that's how this thing ran a stroker with a 671 blower on it for a while, top load a 9-inch. It was a very quick car. And I always sat that original motor under the bench in the shed. I always had that plan of putting it back like this one day.
Here we go. Always do this. I've been a big advocate for this. If you ever do take your original engine out of your car to bolt something in, make sure you do keep that original engine. That is a very special point. And that was my next line too, to comment on the little 253 under the hood there, and no one's got it and put another engine in it. Okay, it's been through that period of time. These cars are the lucky ones to come out now, because as you mentioned earlier, Craig, what used to be done to these cars, I'd say in the 80s and maybe into the early 90s, in some cases was sacrilege.
Oh, for sure. To see some of them get cut up like they did, it was just unbelievable. I bought this car off an older gentleman. He's a mate. I've known him all my life, and I wanted it as a 15-year-old kid. I started hunting this car, and ever since then I just fell in love with it. This car sat in the shed for 20 years unrestored, basically stripped, and I'd go out to the shed, you know, and just sit there and look at it, having that vision of doing it one day. And it just took me a while, and then it just come to me one day. I said, "No, it's time to do this now. I've got to restore this car and put it back to its glory, how it was." As far as going to my panel beater and going, "Mate, I just want it to look like it did in 1974 and sitting on the showroom floor." And yeah, I just had those visions looking at it in that shed for those 20 odd years.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos, featuring the man Ray Dennert, his Pontiac, Craig in his Torana, and a little bit of Portland thrown in as well. I hope you liked it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.